Good evening, Sokkah Twitter, Australia, the world. There has been bombshell news in the last 3 or 4 days, whatever. I don't know. It sounds like I haven't slept in days now. We have called a special podcast with Nick Stoll to talk all things with the JP Morgan European Super League. Hit the jingle, Joe. Is it playing? Oh, I didn't press the button.
Imagination and fantasy.
Okay, we're playing now.
So much imagination, with so much fantasy and flair. Imagination and flair. Lack a bit of imagination and fantasy. Imagination and fantasy. Yeah. So much imagination, with so much fantasy and flair. Imagination and flair. Lack a bit of imagination and fantasy.
Yeah.
Imagination and fantasy.
Yeah. I'm playing again.
So
I'm
much
playing twice.
imagination.
The European Super League, Trent.
Yes. Joe.
The billionaires tried to steal the game from us. What do you think?
I think fuck the billionaires, Joe, in my personal
It's all
opinion.
the corporations. Nick, what are your first thoughts on the European Super League?
When you first heard it.
Well, I mean, listen, when I first heard it, we heard about it 10 years ago, and it was just like a thing that, maybe one day. And then, of course, it was this idea that it was like a bargaining chip, and they were threatening it. We're going to make our own league if you don't give us more money. And they did that for years. And then when they finally, did this on, Monday morning our time, I was like, probably they're just talking shit again. So it's been nice on one hand, it's been hilarious to see it all collapse. And now we've got like John W. Henry doing hostage videos. I'm sorry for the disappointment to the squad. I will never do that again for at least 2 more years. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's hilarious to see all these billionaires grovel now, apologize. Ed Woodward's out of a job at Manchester United. All these like ridiculously incompetent suit-wearing dickheads out of a job. That's hilarious. But I would say that it is, I guess, scary to think what the people in charge want to do with football and what it took to stop them. So I don't know. It's a worry.
Yeah, and like that's the thing, because the people in charge of football clubs now, it's not necessarily like the fans or anything. It's like they're proprietary companies. Like Juventus, they're listed on the Milan Stock Exchange. Man United are on the New York Stock Exchange. Like these are companies owned by like businessmen. Like they're not necessarily football people. Yeah, they originally arrived to supply like funding, so you might see a few big transfers. But in the long term, the aim is to like create money and revenue for themselves and get dividends. So like this won't be the first time we get close to a European Super League, I think.
I think they have more money than like UEFA. Like these people owning these, so like there might, there are talks of like before the Premier League clubs pulled out, that they were saying there was going to be legal complications, but like they probably could they have more money, you can just win the legal battle. Yeah. Like there wouldn't be any legal complications.
Yeah, and we saw that when Man City were suing, with UEFA and Man City with the financial fair play. Man City had more lawyers because they had more money, and they got away with breaching financial fair play. So it's a weird thought, but yeah, like the 12 teams originally involved. From the top of my head,
go Joe.
The big 6 in England, we had Tottenham, Arsenal.
So can we just say
the biggest
Tottenham had the worst week out of all the teams? All right, like I'm a Barca fan. They should cop the abuse as well. But Tottenham was the funniest. Even Florentino Perez going on Spanish TV and being like, "We have Manchester United, Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, and then someone had to go Tottenham. I guess Tottenham." And then even like there was some American TV presenter who was like, "The biggest clubs in England and Tottenham." It's just like, man,
they've been copying up.
They caught so many bullets without even knowing it. They fired their coach. I don't know. A paint company was having a go at him on Twitter. Like,
aren't they playing a League Cup final? Like, why did they fire Mourinho before the League Cup final?
I mean, why did they do anything? Why did they make a documentary about their worst ever season? And these guys have no idea what they're doing, and it showed with the execution of this. I can't wait for their apology. That's going to be the funniest of it all.
We're still waiting on Tottenham's, I think. I think they've said they've pulled out, but there's been no formal apology from Daniel Levy, their chairman. But off the top of my head, the other 6 clubs were Juventus, AC Milan, Inter. Then from Spain, Atletico Madrid, Barcelona, and Real Madrid.
Yeah. And then the Germans said no, and then the French said no originally.
Yeah, which is huge big ups to the Germans because, like, as we all know, they're 51% owned by fans.
And they're really big on like actually developing young players. I think they take that seriously.
Yeah, they have some moral compass. You know, not a great one. But they have some morals that kind of, they were like, probably not. I don't know why PSG was so like, you know what, guys, we do a lot of dodgy stuff, but this is even a little bit too far for us.
Exactly, like Jordan sponsored. Like I thought that'd be the first ones.
They probably the ones who were like encouraging it. I think this is like, you know, that kid at school who was always like in the background trying to get the other kids in trouble. Oh, do this, man. I dare you. Do this to the teacher. And then Florentino was like, okay, I'll do it. Super League, miss. And then he was like, nah. Super League? Nah, not for me.
It's really 4D chess from PSG.
Yeah, totally. And now they'll probably win the Champions League. And they'll be like, the whole time, this was the plan.
But yeah, it's just we nearly saw football like escape from us within like the space of like 2 days.
Yeah.
Which is just like, it felt like it was that close to happening.
Yeah,
which is terrifying.
I was like legitimately worried. Like I just thought, you know, like I said, I'm a Barca fan. You know, you're saying you're a Juve fan, and I was thinking like, well, am I? If this goes through, like, you know, do I really care that much? And because I was talking to another friend of mine, I was saying when I first started supporting Barca, one of the reasons I supported them was they had no shirt sponsor on their shirt, and I thought that was so cool because I always thought shirt sponsors were lame, that kind of thing. And then they were like, oh, we have to get a shirt sponsor, and they got UNICEF on it for a while, and I was like, oh, okay, that's all right, you know. And then it was like Qatar Foundation, and I was like, man, and they're like, oh, it's still a you know, charity, and then it was just Qatar Airways, and now it's whatever Rakuten, or I can't even remember what it is now. But the point is, like, the reason I think a lot of us started supporting these teams has a lot to do with these values that they're supposedly kind of have. And, you know, you think about Liverpool, right? Liverpool, and like full respect to Liverpool fans and stuff like that, but that whole Hillsborough Justice for the 96, that's part of their mythology. And I think it's good that they do it. But they also use that to sell the club. And this is the club of the people, and you'll never walk alone, and we are part of one collective. And they took all that and were like, I think we can make some more money, so let's go do that. And that to me is like the biggest thing. Clubs did have like values that they used to get fans and to keep the myth alive. And I think now, at least, that's where it leaves a bitter taste in my mouth. Even though it hasn't succeeded, I feel a little bit like the fact that you guys even tried to pull off this coup just makes me like fall a bit out of love with these teams.
Yeah, it's 100%. When I started supporting Chelsea when I was like 10, right, and it was like the Drogba, Malouda, these like that's how I supported Chelsea. I probably don't even follow Chelsea anymore because with the turnover of players, coaches, and the money, I've lost I supported Chelsea because I saw Drogba scored in the Champions League final, and I was like, this bloke is an absolute legend. Yeah. Like, he's a living legend.
Yeah.
But like, you lose those stories along the way when like it's just you're getting the best players in the world. You're paying them so much money. It's like, there's no story. Like Florence Malouda would probably never make a Premier League team like now. You know, when he was back then, like he was just an average winger. Like, but I just thought they were legends. Like, and I don't support Chelsea anymore because it's just like,
that's it.
I've lost that connection.
And I do wonder if there is going to be like long-term repercussions for these like super teams. And like there was all this bullshit about like, young people want this and they want shorter games and TikTok, whatever. It's just like these guys have no idea, first of all. And then second of all, it's like you guys think just because there's a trend in one area that everything in life has to become shorter or whatever. Well, not at all. And in fact, maybe that's the trend right now in like 2021. And by 2025, everyone might go, oh, you know what? TikTok was all too short. Now we want to watch 4-hour Twitch streams and listen to the Sokkah Podcast for 3 hours. Like, that trends change all the time. So don't, change 150 years of football based on, some shitty data, which, by the way, they're making up for sure. There's no way this organization has any idea what they were doing.
Like there was like Florentino Perez saying people between the age of 16 and 24 like aren't engaging in football.
Yeah.
That's like the biggest bullshit I've ever heard. Like,
and this is the other thing.
What world?
That show that he went on, the equivalent of that show, so it's called El Chiringuito. Chiringuito means the little bar at the beach, right? Which, for lack of a better word, is full usually of like, Spanish equivalent of they're bogans sitting on the beach just like having a few vinos, like, yeah, it's all good. They're Chiringuito, right? That show is the equivalent of like the footy show, right? So he went on like the dumbest show he could find in Spain. Like, I'm telling you, it is, if you watch this show, it is just incomprehensibly dumb, no matter if you speak the language at all. And he chose that to go on it. He still managed to even make it even dumber by saying all the dumb things he said. And, no surprise, the whole thing collapsed within 24 hours of that appearance.
Yeah, but like, I just need to say, like, if it wasn't for like this announcement of the Super League, like there were some of the best memes I've seen in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
So like that was like really like the only pro that came out
Some
of it.
good has come out of this.
I mean, well, and this is actually the thing. You talk about like good has come out of it. This is what I'm really interested to see is, so the good thing that came out of it is football fans realized that we can have an impact. We can.
Yeah, and it was clubs from every single team. It wasn't just one club here, one club there. It was everyone.
And if everyone comes together, and this is the thing that I think, like, and it's true in Australian football, it's true in like world football. Our power is within each other, right? So yes, alone we can't do very much, but if we do unite, they just start freaking out because they know that, okay, if they get united, then they're not going to buy whatever we're selling, and that's all they care about. They only care about that we buy what they're selling. So that's what I think is going to be really interesting going forward is what type of game do we want? Do we want the World Cup in Qatar? Do we want, if for people who, live and go to games in the Premier League, do we want crazy away ticket prices? Do we want to pay 28 different subscription services to watch every different league and all this kind of stuff? I think the key thing will be, and when it comes to like Australia, do you want promotion and relegation? Do you want kind of that pyramid team? We have to decide kind of that and be collective about it. And if you do put your resources together, you can actually change shit because they will get scared very, very quickly, as we've seen.
Yeah, within 2 days.
Yeah.
Outrage culture is actually doing something good for once.
Yeah, like absolutely. And that's the thing is like, that was the coolest thing because usually football fans are obviously like, Chelsea, you suck, blah, blah, Arsenal, what you blah. Everyone came together. Everyone was supporting each other. Yes, you saw United fans. Like, I'm with the Liverpool fans, protesting against this stuff. If we do come together, we can create the game we want to create. And I think that's important because obviously we all love football, but we love football because Drogba scored that dramatic goal in the Champions League final and then he kicked the penalty. We love it because when I watch Ronaldinho play, I've never seen a guy just rip every single person and then smile at them as he's scoring. We love football for those moments, but everything around the pitch, whether it's JP Morgan, billionaire owners, corrupt World Cup bids, human rights abuses, we hate all of that. Everything basically that goes around the game, we hate it. And so I just think now's the time that we can go, well, we know what we love about the game. We want to eliminate all this other crap, and we can actually do it. It's just going to take a united front from everyone.
Yeah, like we can eliminate it to an extent, like it's going to happen, but as long as it doesn't affect the football, and this was the first time it actually we could see that it was going to affect the football. Like I think people are going to be okay is billionaires are going to run, they're going to run the world. They're running the world. Yeah. But if it doesn't affect what we love, which is football fans love football, it's when it first started to affect football. That's when we all stepped in, which I think is fair enough. It's like how much can they stay out of it? Yeah, is probably the best thing that's going to move forward.
I really do hope. I don't know how much I think this will happen, but you look at Germany, you look at the Bundesliga model, that 50+1 thing. There's no reason why every single Premier League team can't implement that. Now, obviously, the owners are going to be like, we don't really want to do that. But if there's enough pressure from the government and from the fans, which is the main thing, they'll eventually kind of just be forced to do it. I would like to see it. If any club in Australia adopted it, I would immediately start supporting them. I'd immediately try and buy a membership to them. But because I just think it makes you more connected to your club. You talk to German fans, and that's what they say. They go, man, we don't care if we don't have, Mbappe or whoever the best player in the world is. We feel we are part of the club. We get a say in that club. And that's why they have, I think the highest attendance in football, packed stadiums all the time, great fan culture. It's super important. In fact, it is probably more important than signing whoever the next superstar is. So I hope that a lot of teams, wherever they are in the world, go to that model.
I think they're and Germany as well. They play so many good German players or young players, and they're all German, and they turn out to be the players that they sell for 50 million. I think those fans are happy with seeing that progress, seeing a player come on at 16 Dortmund, and 4 years later he's been sold for 50 million, to Bayern. Yes, to Bayern is as a football fan, I'd be happy with that. You don't need to sign someone 50 million if you're going to sell someone and build them up.
No, look how excited we get here in Australia over someone like Daniel Arzani or Alu Kuol or whoever it is. Yeah. Some young kid just comes in, looks half decent, beats a few players and scores, and we start losing our minds, right? So
in Perth Glory, it's like they don't have to beat a few players; they just come on and everyone loses their minds.
But even Amiento at the start of the season, it was like, "Whoa, this kid's amazing!" So
Yeah.
I think that's a kind of thing of like with football, you want to, Florentino Perez will tell you, kids will want the biggest superstars and they'll only watch them for 20 minutes on, some app or some crap. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. We'll like football for what it is and for the many things it can be. And I love football for my six-a-side team winning 5-4 in the last minute. I'll be thinking about that for a week. So, yeah, man, I hope it's not just like a little retreat for these billionaires. They just come back and go, okay, yeah, sorry, won't do it again for 2 years, and then they try it again. I hope there's actually massive change. I don't know if it will happen, but let's see.
Yeah, because even Boris Johnson was like tweeting I don't know why. It was like, this can't happen. Like, then there needs to be laws which stops all these billionaires like essentially creating their own shop. Like, it's closed, no one can get in, no one can get out. It goes against like the principles of football, like that pyramid system where you can start off small and you can slowly climb the pyramid like each season, which that's what people love. People love watching Leicester being in the championship, nearly getting relegated. The next season they win the Premier League. Yeah. Like, people love like those teams that they go up for one season, do well, go down. Like Southampton, for example, as well. That's what people love. That's
tell me
the most joyous thing about football.
If you play Football Manager, you can go, I don't know, get on there and play for Barcelona, Real Madrid, and just win a couple of. That's pretty boring.
The people who do that are not real Football Manager players.
The real one is, okay, I'm going to go down to Division 4 in Germany and bring this team up all the way to the Bundesliga and all that. That's the journey, and I think that's kind of the best thing about football. That's the thing that does separate it from the NBA, the NFL. Here in Australia, the AFL, A-League, blah blah blah. That's the thing that makes it like amazing. And, it happens less and less. And we know, even with this Super League stop and the new Champions League rules suck, all this, there's still legacy places for teams that miss out and all this kind of crap like that. And it makes it harder and harder, every year. We know a Porto from 2004 is harder and harder to happen like ever again. Every year, Barca, Madrid, they get richer. Man United get richer. But at least there's still a chance. And this was the worst thing about it, was they were taking away that last bit of hope. And then that's when we all lost our shit, which was rightly so.
Yeah, because that's why people go to like the football, because like even though you might support like not the greatest club, every dog has his day. And that's why like I go to a game because, I don't know, Glory might win on the weekend, or like I like watching my provincial Italian teams. Like I always support them because they're always the underdog, and you just love that underdog story. And by them doing this closed shop, it just takes away that narrative, which is...
And the other thing is the best narrative. There's that narrative of your team coming up. To me, one of the best things that can ever happen, and we saw it a little bit in Chile this year, was the biggest team, Colo-Colo there, almost got relegated, had to go to a relegation playoff. To me, listen, I'm a Barca fan. I'd give away 10 Champions Leagues if Real Madrid was one day in a relegation battle. That, to me, would be the funnest thing I could ever watch. I'd be watching every single Real Madrid game going crazy if I thought there was a chance that they could get relegated. So just the fact that it's possible for these big clubs to get relegated is also part of like the thing that makes football amazing. When River, I'm telling you, when River got relegated, River Plate in Argentina, for that, Boca fans, they'll tell you that was the best day of their life. They still sing about it. They still fly drones above River Stadium with the ghost that has the B sign on it for the B division that they were in. And they tried to change the rules for River and they still got relegated. So when I think of like the changes that they were bringing in, if we're going to take away all that, and I just couldn't fathom why you would want to do that, except for if you're an asshole and all you want is money.
Yeah. Just to talk about money, I do have a little MP3 here.
Hit it.
That's for my own personal enjoyment.
I thought that was my paycheck coming in for my appearance to the show.
It's coming. We'll mail it in.
Yeah.
But talk about money, and people that do give us money are our sponsors. And we'll just actually plug them now.
All right. This episode of the Sokkah Podcast is sponsored by our official sponsor, Streamgate Live Streaming Australia. They've been live streaming since 2008, specialising in custom-built stream pages, pay-per-view and multi-language streaming. They can cater to large online conferences with multiple simultaneous streams and destinations, including all social media channels, servicing clients Australia-wide. Go to streamgate.com.au or find them on Instagram.
And this podcast is also especially sponsored by arrowsport.com.au. If you want to grab yourself special custom-made soccer jerseys, polos, whichever team where you want. Visit arrowsport.com.au. Basically, prices are $55 for a jersey, fully customised with name, number, or $70 for customised jersey, shorts, and shipping isn't included. That's arrowsport.com.au. So, Nick, with all these proposed changes like the ECL and everything, should there be any punishments for these 12 super clubs who did want to defect from the Champions League and their domestic leagues themselves?
This is a super hard question because I don't know about you guys, but, I think we could see the players had no idea this was happening and were against it. The coaches had no idea this was happening and were against it. So what do there's talk of, okay, you kick them out of the Champions League or you relegate them or something like that. Well, that is massively going to affect the players, the coaches who had nothing to do with this. It wasn't like there was some cheating going on and they were all in on it. This was just the owners planning this on their own. So then you think, okay, well, how can we punish the owners without punishing the players? And I don't know how you do that other than handing out massive fines to these owners. And then, we know what the Glazers do. They put the debt onto the club. So it's not even their debt. So this is the problem with these billionaires. Is the rules, there is no punishment for billionaires. It's why they don't go to jail when they, do tax.
I reckon we kidnap them, Nick.
All right. I do not endorse, officially at least, I do not endorse any violence or any criminality towards billionaires. However,
that's probably smart. That'd make a good movie, though. Think of it.
Well, undoubtedly. So let's say hypothetically, if this was just a fictitious thing, I think it would be a great idea, right? But from an official, legal, still employed position, I do not endorse anything in terms of violence or anything. Having said that, eat the rich, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, in terms of fines, it's you fine them millions, but people don't. Some people, a lot of people don't actually understand what $1 billion is.
Yeah, that's right.
You can fine them 10 million, but it's 10 million and $1 billion. It's it's the jump. So it's a fine wouldn't even affect them. I don't think.
No, and this is the thing: is could you put a rule where they're not allowed to take money out of the club or something, that every single euro, dollar, whatever they make is reinvested into the club or taken off them and put into football. But then, I don't know how that works on a legal thing, because these guys have amazing lawyers and they're going to go, well, no, as a business owner, this is not quite right. I have no idea. An honest punishment, I would love to see that they make a rule, and I don't know if this would come from UEFA or if it would come from, the governments within those countries, to say you can't, no single individual can have more than a 49% share in the club. That would be amazing. That's exactly how I think the punishment should be.
Yeah.
I just don't know who applies that and exactly how it gets implemented. But the good thing is, it's not like the A-League, where you can genuinely argue in the A-League that there aren't enough fans maybe to support the community-owned model for each club, or at least not initially. That's not the case with these teams. All these teams have, as we've seen, millions of fans worldwide.
But I
think that's a good idea, though. The can't own more than 50%.
There actually was an idea on Twitter that there should be independent ethics board above the owners, which can veto or agree to any proposed rule change. I think that would be the best idea. But then there's a question of who will these people be? They need to be independent. Are they fans? Are they lawyers?
So a governing, another body. The thing is, then they'll probably just be corrupt.
Just more bureaucracy.
Yeah, I would like to remind you guys that FIFA had an ethics committee all these years, and it didn't seem to do a whole lot.
Yeah, it was funny seeing FIFA's stance on this thing, condemning the Super League, and then at the bottom it had all their sponsors like Qatar Airways and everyone else. So just need to take it with a grain of salt.
It does remind me of when Luis Suarez tries to get a player sent off when he's playing. He's always looking like, man, shame on you for fouling someone. How dare you abuse me? Oh my God, just the victimhood. You brought shame on us all. That was what it felt like with FIFA, UEFA. Because this is the other thing. Everyone's like, oh, well, UEFA's not that good. No one's saying UEFA's that good. No one's saying the clubs who weren't involved aren't, corrupt also. And
they're just the lesser evil.
Yeah, or just in this case. They weren't benefiting off it. That's the other thing. If that was the funny thing about all these billionaires, they must be so smart. If they just worked out, if they just had more people benefiting, then everyone would have been like, oh yeah, cool, I'm in. Like, if they got FIFA on side, if they'd gotten Bayern and all these other clubs on side, and I'm sure they could have done it eventually with enough cash, they would have got it through. But luckily, they massively stuffed up. It's just hopefully they pay some kind of consequences now.
Yep. Now, we do have some Twitter questions in relation to the European Super League. I'll just get some of those up.
Let's do it.
We do have some fantastic and hilarious Twitter followers, Joe.
A few too many, I think, Trent. So the first question we have is from, Lee Broxham Facts, massive fan of the show and Australian football. He says, the 50+1 rule for all clubs, including... I've read that completely wrong. 50+1 rule for all clubs, including A-League, surely. I think we're getting that direction, especially with Melbourne Victory. They listed some shares a few months ago now. But because I think by doing that, it aligns the interest of the fans with the owners, because at the end of the day, the fans are the owners in that case.
And you think about it, like, I'm much more likely to go to every single game of my team if I am literally an owner. Yeah. I'm much more invested in that. And I'm not just going to be like, well, whatever, I don't really care about this season. Like, whatever. I think it's a good rule. And, it happens, I think, in the AFL. The AFL, a bunch of those teams member-owned or whatever.
Yeah. And now we also have another question from Western Sydney Papa Fen. And he says, changing teams because your original one joined the Super League, yes or no?
Yes. Very acceptable.
I think, yeah. At a certain point, so this is the question, right, is, you should never change your team. But what if, your team does get owned by someone who, I don't know, Donald Trump or someone buys a team? At a certain point, you've got to be like, well, this isn't the team I signed up for. And
and if you don't live there, and if you don't have any actual affiliation, we have affiliation with the Perth Glory, I think it's completely acceptable to change.
I reckon we give everyone a week. We give them a week now. If you change team in this week, by the way, you can't just change to another super team. You can't be like, I'm a Spurs fan. Actually, you know what? I'm actually a City fan. They look much better. You got to change out of the and also no going to PSG or Bayern either. There's no you got to take a significant step down in the ecosystem. But I will give you a 1 week. You're allowed to change team this week, and no one give you shit for it.
I like that.
I'm now a fan of Sassuolo.
That's great, Joe.
Athletic Club Bilbao. Athletic Club Bilbao. They never buy players. They just get the locals. That's it.
That's true.
Yeah, because they're all Basque. Hey,
Susayeta and Benyat.
That's right. That's
big Bilbao players.
That's right. They can't. Even if you put them in a European Super League and gave them $50 billion, then end up buying Chubby Alonso, who retired 20 years ago. Get a Basque player in there. I don't know. There's none left.
Now we'll switch to some A-League news. Now, we did hear of Jose Mourinho getting the sack.
Yes,
in the A-League.
Premier League.
In the A-League, it was Grant Brebner. What are your thoughts, Trent, before you do have to leave to training?
I do. Now, Joe, a great connection you've brought between Grant and Jose. But I think it was essentially how embarrassing could the victory be without sacking Brebner. So, 7-0 was the line.
Not 6.
Not 6, I think, because it was they're losing, but some games they were playing okay, but still losing. But I think owners just said, this is embarrassing now. Move on. Tottenham, Jose, I don't think he's ever going to coach in the Premier League again, in my opinion.
I would just say I've never seen a derby where the rivals have held up 6 because they scored 6 in the last game and then proceeded to win by more than 6.
7.
That was at a certain point, every Melbourne Victory player had to, when they were losing by 5, had to just take out every single, every City player, get red carded, and then get the 3-0 loss that you get
forfeit.
Yeah, when you get the forfeited. I cannot believe that you lost by more goals than they held up. That's the most embarrassing thing I've ever seen in the A-League, maybe from a team.
Yeah, I'd say so.
The funny thing was the Melbourne City fans got 2 uses of those 6 signs. They used it before the game, and when it was 6-0 again, they got to throw it up again.
And you know what?
It's a win-win.
They were so lucky that it didn't go to 9, and they were all just able to turn it around. That would have been that fold the club, and
fold the club.
At a certain point you got it. I just cannot imagine. Can you imagine if Inter Milan lost 6-0 to AC Milan and then lost 7-0 in the next game? They'd be talked about for 100 years. That's the crazy. If Melbourne City had more fans, this would have been the craziest thing ever. Lucky for victory.
Yeah, for sure. I just don't think when they signed Brebner at the start that obviously not experienced as a head coach, but as an experience as a player and a little bit of coaching, but Like it was a cheap. Like we got Richard Garcia. I'm sure he's on a very low contract compared to Tony Popovich. And that's he's like not getting paid as much.
No, yeah.
Like they didn't pay Bredman a lot. But I just didn't think he was like the squad was very average.
Even the visa players have been so disappointing.
Imports were. I just think they're all unfit. Like they actually could be decent players. I tipped Rudy Gestede to be top goal scorer of the league, Nick. So I'm backtracking on that one.
Real Paul the Octopus vibes about that prediction there.
But yeah, I think it was a bad appointment at the start, in my opinion, of Graham Bremner.
Yeah.
So just recently, Jose Mourinho's free.
Let's put them together.
Do they send an SOS, Joe?
I mean, listen, if Mourinho was saying same coach, different players about Tottenham's players, and he had Kane and Son, what's he going to say when he gets Jacob Butterfield? And I don't even know.
Ryan shot,
exactly.
with one hamstring.
Yeah, man, like, come on. It'll be the quickest. You know how Mourinho usually has 3 seasons. The second season's pretty good, and the third season it'll be 3 games. It'll be throwing him under a bus. It'll be a great documentary.
In terms of Mourinho, like obviously I was supporting Chelsea when he was with them, and I think his style of football that was so pragmatic. Like it works in a specific scenario. Like it worked that year for Chelsea because. Like I think what happened was they were free-flowing scoring at the start of the year and they lost like 6-3 to Tottenham and he just said, no, we're parking the bus for the rest of the year. And they had that many points ahead of the league that he could do that. But I don't think it works in the Premier League anymore. And I don't really think it works in modern football. So I don't know where Mourinho will land.
Well, imagine him squaring up to, what's his name? The Melbourne City coach. I've forgotten his name.
Kisnorbo.
Imagine Jose squaring up to Kisnorbo. I would love that.
It's a good square up. I'll tell you that much.
I mean, the memes would be sensational. I mean, for that alone, I'd be very happy with him to go. But, I don't know. Mourinho, where does he go now? He's probably going to end up at what do you reckon, national team for the World Cup? That's kind of feeling like
could do. He could go back to Portugal, potentially.
Maybe. Benfica's coach is actually massively struggling, but and that's kind of the biggest club in Portugal. So that could be an option, but yeah, I don't know, man. He's done at the top level now. I mean, he was already done.
He's done in England.
Yeah, he was already done when Tottenham.
He was already done.
But then I was like, maybe not. But now
he tried to revive it with a documentary, got him somewhere. But yeah, he might become a TV star. At this point.
Yeah, I want to see him and Wenger on like Sky Sports or beIN every weekend analyzing games.
Well,
he was good actually. Mourinho was good at that.
And actually, that is the interesting thing. Is Mourinho, for as much as we criticize, he comes on as an analyst and he just teaches all the pundits like he goes.
Everyone.
There are 4 phases of football. Possession, transition, and they're all just sitting there like, oh yeah, Jose, yes, thanks. I'll use that. But yeah, man, I don't know. It's going to be very interesting. But someone actually did point out that he is the only coach in history to be fired from the European Super League. He managed to that 48-hour window. He was the only one who got fired. So well done to him, creating history once again.
Great stuff.
So with the vacant position at Melbourne Victory, Nick, do you have any picks for who should take the spot? Is it Joe Montemero? Is it Tony Popovich?
Man,
is it Jose Mourinho?
Listen, Popper's proven he can do it in the A-League, so that would kind of make sense. But, I would like to see maybe someone like Arthur Papas, who was under Ange, Yokohama. Pete Klomovsky was also there. Maybe give them a chance. But the thing is, Victory, you've got to change the recruiting. You've got to change the youth system, all that structure. That all has to change. So I don't know. But listen, I'm not going to say Papa wouldn't be a good appointment because I think he would. And I think he would, he would improve that place.
He knows how to win a game, like any way possible.
I guarantee you they're never losing 7-0 or 6-0 with Papa.
No chance.
No chance. It's never happening. So, I'm not saying that should be what they asked in the job interview. Like, hey, can we just guarantee 5-0 is the maximum loss? Yeah, nice. But yeah, I would assume they'll probably be looking at Popovich's talk that Ufi Tale is in line as well.
I saw an article today about Walter Zenga, the old Inter Milan goalkeeper.
I mean,
must be a good article.
Agents, I think that appeared on the World Game. So what I'll just say is a fantastic article and great stuff, and keep reading it while it still exists. Thanks.
Joe, I'm going to have to head off.
Yeah, I think on that note, we've discussed everything about the European Super League and how billionaires and corporations are ruining football, and the fans won somehow. We did it. We did it, Nick. It was me, you, and Trent. We saved football.
You're welcome, guys. You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Nick. If you want to plug your Twitter, it's Nick Stoll.
Yes,
Is that correct?
It is at Nick Stoll. Please follow because who knows what you'll see in the future.
Yeah,
We'll be following Nick.
Hopefully, next episode there's not another European Super League developed. But this has been another special edition of the Sokkah Podcast. Nick Stoll, thank you so much for joining us. It was a great chat with you. And yeah, I don't like billionaires and corporations.
I don't know.
Is that the sign off every week?
Yeah.
we go for the real Bernie Bros market. Just by the way,
sign off like that every week.
Yeah. By the way, not a fan of billionaires. If you're a billionaire and you're tuning in, stop listening to this. Yeah, switch off this show. Unless you want to sponsor, in which case the JP Morgan.
Speaking of sponsors. Speaking of our sponsors, if you want to sponsor the podcast, head to patreon.com/Sokkah Podcast. You receive many benefits, including secret podcasts, Discord chat, and you get your name read on the podcast every week. So this week, shout out to Edward Watson, Adrian Benoza, Ben Miro, Neil Simons, Ryan Robinson, Milan Kasari, Andy Tin, John Morris, Harry Russell, Harry, Dennis Fernandez, Ben Robson, Natasha Williams, Andrea, Jacob Colangelo, David Clark, Fraser Marnham, Glenn Olivero. Thanks, guys, for sponsoring the podcast. You're the best.
And you're the best too, Nick.
Thank you so much. I got to start sponsoring the podcast.
Yeah.